Namaskar dosto. In this video we will discuss one of the most key parts of this handbook, which is the idea of surveillance first defense. In the last video I discussed about the importance of the Indian Ocean to Bharat. But in this video you will now learn about the surveillance first defense and why Bharat needs surveillance first defense to monitor its areas in the Indian Ocean. Make sure to watch until the very end to gain clarity about this topic. So I have pulled up the handbook. So now I will explain surveillance first defense to you. So the Indian Ocean is the third largest ocean in the world and one of the growing competitive geopolitical regions in the world. The Indian Ocean is huge. Only the Pacific and Atlantic are bigger than the Indian Ocean. And the Indian Ocean, I explained in the last video, the Indian Ocean is becoming a very competitive place where many countries are competing for influence, trade, or resources. And this matters because so much global trade and energy moves to these waters. I have already discussed this concept in my past video, which is why it is important to remind you now. It is one of the most competitive places, so much global trade and energy moves to these waters, and whoever controls influence here affects the economy and security of the world. Now, the biggest advantage for navies to survive in the Indian Ocean or any ocean is to have knowledge about the ocean through monitoring the earliest and the best. So early knowledge turns surprise into choice because you get to decide how to act instead of reacting to a crisis. And this is what surveillance first defense is. Because in any ocean, in this case the Indian Ocean, the most important advantage for survival or influence is to have information. Information will help you know about what is occurring around you, and this will help Bharat defend its exclusive economic zones and its maritime boundaries and territories like Andaman, Nicobar and Lakshadweep. So it is why if the Indian Navy monitors the earliest and the best, it will gain better information so that it can act early instead of reacting when any crisis arises. So what I propose is, or what many people propose, is that Bharat should adopt a surveillance first defense system, which means building a continuous monitoring network with its own layers. So the idea is to prioritize patrolling or watching the Indian Ocean constantly around Bharat's maritime boundaries and exclusive economic zones using different types of systems instead of only relying on ships, which is a traditional method of patrolling. So because a system with layers gives a more earlier and more better idea of what is occurring around India's maritime boundaries, and especially around very large areas in the Indian Ocean, and that is very beneficial for the Indian Navy. So Bharat should go surveillance first by building a layered and 24/7 network to have control and information over its own waters. So now I will discuss about what this layered system will contain. These include long distance and surviving drones over the surface, autonomous underwater vehicles or AUVs, coastal radars, constant satellite information, and seabed sensors. So in my past blogs, I have already written about the idea of autonomous underwater vehicles or seabed sensors, and in my past lectures I have also talked about the idea of using such advanced technologies. But now I will explain to you even more about how this connects to a surveillance first defense system. So the examples are, so first, long distance and surface drones are active for few long periods, so that helps in 24/7 surveillance. And submarines, right? Submarines, these are robotic submarines, are literally autonomous underwater vehicles or AUVs. They patrol underwater, and having information from underwater is most important because it helps detect information even better, as most threats nowadays come from underwater instead of the surface. And coastal radars watch the coast and land areas, which will give better surveillance, because even if any threat reaches the coast of India, like Konkan or let's say Malabar, coastal radars will already detect it and help the Coast Guard to act more quickly and for coastal communities to take action. Satellite connection will have better coverage, and satellites should also be 24/7, which matches the idea of a surveillance first defense system. And the sensors, seabed sensors, just like autonomous underwater vehicles, help detect underwater movements. So each technology covers many different spots, whether if it's aerial, underwater, coastal, or surface, and they each help surveillance first defense system by having constant coverage in all of these layers. Now I will give you one. Now there is a nuance to this. This proposal is not to get rid of traditional naval machines. It actually helps them act faster and smarter. So this surveillance first defense system does not replace ships or submarines, but it actually helps them give better information so that they can move where they are needed and make better decisions. Because, for example, let us say sensors. These sensors make every ship and every naval squadron more effective, because there are fewer surprises and there is better accuracy in targets, striking targets, and it will make deployments and regular patrols more safer. So this is not about getting rid of ships, which are traditional naval machines, or submarines, but it is about making them more smarter using these underwater vehicles or these coastal radars or any layer of this surveillance first defense system. Finally, let us discuss the goal of a surveillance first defense system. The goal of this proposal is constant awareness every day and night in every EEZ exclusive economic zone so that or maritime boundary so that threats are detected early and responses are strong. So basically the goal is 24/7 monitoring across India's exclusive economic zones EEZ's maritime boundaries so that any suspicious activities or any hostile activities are detected quickly and handled more effectively. If you do not know what exclusive economic zones are, they are the areas in maritime areas where a state has rights over its resources. So to defend India's exclusive economic zones, it will help us have better rights over our resources so that there is no outside sabotage or any disturbance in any economic activity in our maritime areas. And this matters because constant awareness over our maritime boundaries or exclusive economic zones or any parts of the Indian Ocean help reduces problems coming from the Indian Ocean. In my past video, I discussed about the issues that are in the Indian Ocean, and these include surprise attacks, illegal fishing, smuggling, piracy, and threats from other navies like Pakistan or China, or could be even US in the future. So which is why having 24/7 surveillance will help reduce these effects as there is more awareness and more constant information about the Indian Ocean coming from the Indian Navy. So to tell this to you in a simple way, the ocean is huge and strategic, right? The Indian Ocean is the third largest ocean in the world and is one of the growing competitive geopolitical regions in the world, right? So if Bharat builds a 24/7 surveillance first defense system with many layers like satellites, drones, AUVs, coastal radars, seabed sensors, it won't replace any traditional equipment like ships or submarines, but it will help them more. And by having an early detection, it will help make better choices, more stronger responses, and have quicker information. Because once again, to survive in the Indian Ocean or any ocean, you must have knowledge about the ocean through monitoring, and whoever has the most information or has information first and best will have more power over the Indian Ocean and more power over their boundaries. Thank you for watching my explanation about surveillance first defense. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you or I hope you understood this concept. Jai Hind. Dharma Rakshate Rakshate.